Amen. God bless you. God bless you, Facebook and YouTube. I'm already logged into Instagram. God bless you. God bless you, everybody. This is Thursday Night Live at 9. I am Apostle Hellena Horsley. I will not be with you long on tonight. We're going to go straight into the teaching, which is going to be God bless you. God bless you, Yellow Beauty. This lesson tonight, again, this is 40 marriages that must not hold. We are in our relationship series on Thursday Night Live with an Apostle Helena Horsley. We are in the relationship series, and in this particular lesson, we are looking at 40 marriages that must not hold. Now, these 40 marriages that must not hold, this is a book that is written by Dr. D.K. Olukoya. God bless you, Sister Carolyn. And we know that this is based upon those who have experienced various types of messages and marriages. And as I would say, if people were if they wanted to have a sit down and talk to you before you got married, before you decided to get married, these are things that I'm sure wisdom would help to provide instruction for. Those of you who are contemplating marriage, you really had to think about what you're doing before you say I do. God bless you, Latanya. God bless you. You really have to think about what you're saying, not be led by your emotions, not be led by your pain or past experiences. And like I have always told people before, when you leave your home, when you leave your home where you were raised in, it's important for you to take time to think about, God bless you, daughter, to think about the effects of home. And if there's any, because there's no perfect houses, there's no perfect home, there's no perfect family, no such thing. If you want to make any kind of comparison, think about Adam and Eve. Okay, they were right in the presence of God, in the presence of God. And with them being in the very presence of God, as perfectly as they were made in the image of God, here is the enemy coming in. And what do you have? You have Cain and killing Abel. You have all kinds of dysfunction within the house. You got at the beginning, you got the enemy coming in and he's separating the husband and the wife. How is he doing it? Because he's communicating with this one, communicating with that one. Here he is talking, presenting them something that they should not have partaken in. And then they miss their time with God. God is walking around the garden looking for them. We're out there, Adam. Where are you? Right? So all these things we can happen. So we know the main enemy of them all is the devil. The enemy is the devil. He is the main one that hates marriages. Hey, daughter. He is the main one that hates marriages. He's the main one that hates anything that God puts together. He hates it with a passion, with a passion. So again, when you leave home, it's always wise to think about what you've gone through because listen, this is the point. When you leave your home, whatever your issues were with your siblings, with your parents, whatever that was, if it wasn't overcome then, or if you didn't learn something, if through every experience you had to say, what did I learn? What did I learn? Or what was I supposed to learn? So through every experience, these are things that you need to be asking. What did I learn or what was I supposed to learn? Did I get the message? Okay, because if you don't, whatever you did not learn, you're going to learn it later. Whatever you did not like, you're going to repeat it again because these are things that you must be able to overcome. You must be able to walk out life with freedom and to understand in your freedom that we have choices. You have to understand that, things happen in life. Okay. God bless you, Cynthia. Things happen in life, and there's things that you cannot change. And whatever you may have overcome in your childhood or in your family or your young adult time, whatever it was you were able to overcome, whatever it was you were able to overcome, you had the ability to overcome. You're going to see it in another time. You're going to see it in another state of your life because the confidence would be if you were delivered from it in your previous time, well, for sure you're going to be delivered again. And then you'll also see people in life that remind you of your family members, that will remind you of your family members, things that you went through, even when you marry and you have your children. You will see things that your family, that you grew up with your family, and it'll be so familiar with you. You know that you've overcome it. You know that you walked through it, and you know, okay, thank God that I had something to compare this to. Okay, to compare to a time in your life, how things, even though it's the same, it's a different person, but it's familiar to you and your family. So again, this is 40 marriages that must not hold. So I want everybody to understand that there is no perfect marriage, meaning there's not a marriage that will not have problems. There's not a marriage that will not have challenges. There's not a marriage that will not go through times of saying, I don't want this anymore. Okay. This is part of the normal things. Okay. Everybody goes through, they may not voice it, but everybody goes through this kind of mindset, especially when it comes to the times of changes within a life, like when you hit your 30s, like when you hit your 40s, your 50s, the midlife crisis, 60. There are things that happen within your body, number one, physically. And also, there are things that happen with you as you mature in age. So, when we go through life and life's challenges, it's just important for us to realize that there's no perfect marriage. This is your family, and you've got to work on it. Okay. You got to work on it. So, tonight, we are looking at marriage number 33. Now, remember, this is 40 marriages that must not hold. And so this is 33. We have 7 more to go. Okay. Last week, we talked about the medicinal marriage. Well, this week, this night, we're talking about the fine face marriage. How about that? The fine face marriage. This is when you marry somebody because of their looks. Oh, my goodness. Okay. The fine face. God bless you, Cousin Paula. The fine face marriage. So let's read that a little. Let's read about it. And before we go into the book, let me go with our foundational scripture that we have for this, and that is 1 Corinthians 7:29. For this I say, brethren, the time is short. It remaineth that both they that have wives be as though they had none, and they that weep as though they wept not, and they that rejoice as though they rejoice not, and they that buy as though they possess not, and they that use this world as not abusing it, for the fashion of this world passeth away. But I would have you without carefulness. He that is unmarried carry for the things that belong to the Lord, how he may please the Lord. But he that is married careth for the things that are in the world, how he may please his wife. There is a difference between a wife and a virgin. The unmarried woman careth for the things of the Lord, that she may be holy both in body and in spirit. But she that is married careth for the things of the world, how she may please her husband. So again, this is a time that we really have to think about, because in whatever time that we are living in, which is a time of trouble, it's a time of change, it's a time of challenges. This is the end time. And your most important relationship of all is your relationship with God. It is your relationship with God. That is your most ultimate primary relationship. Out of that relationship with God will flow the love of God, and to give you the ability to be able to walk this walk and walk in love. And again, you are going to be called to the throne of God by yourself. You won't be able to say, my husband did it, my wife did. You won't be able to say that, because you're going to stand before the bema seat of Christ, and you're going to be judged by the very things you have done. And because we have God as our source and God as our Father, and He showed us how to come to Him. There's no other way to come to Him except by Jesus Christ, Yeshua HaMashiach. There's no way for you to come to Him but by Yahusha. Okay, there's no other way for you to do that. So He is the way, the truth, and the life. So once you develop your relationship with the Father, He loves us. He's waiting for us. Okay. You can live like this in a time today. I'll give an example. In a time today, they were, especially after the elections, they had so many videos out there, and they had women, many women were trying to tell women, you need to divorce your husband if they voted for such and such. This is the most craziest thing. If you voted for this person, then you need to divorce your husband. They were telling people what they needed to do. Hey, Dada Deanna, they were telling people that they needed to come out of their marriage because this one married, this one voted for this one. And can you see how much of a divide that is even bringing within the home because of that? So if you start looking at the videos, you'll see that, yeah, that's what happened. You look it up, daughter. That's what they said on on YouTube. A lot of the YouTube video, TikTok things that they were transferring, because I don't have TikTok, but people were transferring some of the things that people were putting out because of the election. They were saying that that is a very dividing factor. And they were telling it was women telling women to get out of their marriages because they were explaining that the man hates them as a woman because if they voted um for Trump, then they were voting against their choice as with their body. They were voting for all it was all kinds of things, but you'll find it if you search for it. But here is a time where, wow, if the man is at home facing that challenge with his wife, because people are pushing this kind of stuff on social media and giving her the ideas of this way, he has to stand as if, he is standing alone. He has to stand with God and he still has to do what he needs to do. Do you not know that even if a man gets married and he has not been able to spend proper time with his wife, that he, according to the scriptures, he should not go to war? He should not go to war until he has spent proper time with his wife. You see? So men have a decision that they had to make because their wife is the covenant partner that they have. Now, they chose this particular wife. They chose her. She's not their sister. He's not, because you can't choose your siblings. You're born into that family. But you chose your wife. So here it is. They have to remember that this is a time where they really had to care for the things that please their wife, things that build their home, things of that nature, because it says, he that is married care for the things that are of the world, how he may please his wife. That's what the scripture says. So that man has to put everything in his wife to make sure that she is well pleased, that make sure that she is very well stable, make sure that she doesn't have any issues, and she's very confident that she's married to somebody who loves her and somebody who cares for her. And that's what his job is, to make sure she feels safe with her own husband. Okay. And so, even for the woman that is not married, it's for you not to live with distraction, but you have to live that you care for the things of the world. And two, if you are married, she that is married, care for the things of the world, how she may please her husband. Okay, so here's a thing where the husband and the wife have to be the ones that are pleasing each other. They have to be the ones that are looking out for one another's needs, making sure, but there cannot be God in their life. See, you have your husband, you have your wife, men, but you cannot live as if they are God. You live with them according to how the Lord tells you to, because you have to make sure that your home is a safe place for the both of you, that it's not out of order and it's not a war zone. You don't want to have a war zone at home. Your home is supposed to be a sanctuary of peace. Now, you're going to have problems, okay, especially when you have children. Again, in the special times in life, things happen. But that's just an adjustment for transitions that are happening with everybody. You have to be able to walk through the transitions as you should. Okay. So this calls for maturity. It calls for making sure that you are dedicated to your spouse. It calls for making sure that everything is safe, and and for sure that you are both dependent and crying out to God for yourself. Okay. That you're praying, each one has an individual prayer life, and also the two are coming together in prayer to the Father for their needs, with the husband leading that prayer. Now, okay, the husband needs to lead that prayer. And if he feels like, okay, I'd rather have you pray tonight, wife, whatever that is, because he's having some issues, let the wife pray. But it's going to be the responsibility of the husband when they're both praying together. Okay. Otherwise, they do have their own time with God. And there's going to be spontaneous times where each one is going to pray for another because they're picking up something that's happening with one another. They're going to be praying for their homes. But when they come together before the Father and they're on their knees before the Lord for their household, for their marriage, for direction, for things about the children, for things about finance, and they're talking to God for solutions. They're talking to Him because they're presenting all the needs that they have to the Father. The husband has to be that part that is calling out to God for the information, because he is the head of his house. He is the head of his wife, and everything that is necessary has to funnel down through him. Okay, it has to funnel through him. He's the head of the home. He's the head of his wife. All right, he's not the head of God's church. So we're not talking about church, we're talking about the home. All right, so it is the husband's responsibility to go to God for the marriage. Go to God for it. And this is why you can look in the book of Genesis. When Adam did not show up, he said, Adam, Adam, where art thou? Where art thou, Adam? He said, the woman you gave me. God called for him. God called for him. Where are you? You see, so Adam and the man has a big responsibility for his household. God blesses him. God helps him. God keeps him. God increases him. Whatever he needs, God makes sure he gets. God makes sure things are in his hands to be able to provide for his family. God does that. Amen. And this is why you pray. Wives, continue to pray for your husbands. Continue to pray for them. And because God will give everything. The last thing they need is stress about taking care or providing for their families. God will open doors. God will make sure that they have increase for your house. God does that. How do you know that? God does that. They might call it luck, and he should have the final say, right? God, they could discuss it, but yeah, he should be able to talk to the Lord and have a decision for the home. And it's not something that's going to be, may not be something that the wife will always agree with. However, when he sees that there's a vision, he has a vision for the home, he has a vision and a plan for things that are going forward. Well, let that man lead. Okay, let him lead. Let him do what he needs to do. All right. As long as he's not committing crimes, as long as he's not being abusive. Okay, you just got to know the order, right? You got to know the order. We're talking about marriages. We're talking about godly marriages. So again, on that note, talking tonight about the looks. Okay, a fine face marriage. Fine face marriage. Are looks really everything? Our looks everything, because looks can change. Looks can change. Something can happen. I hope nothing happens, but something can happen. But looks can change. All right. But are looks enough? What they look like, is that enough for you? Okay. So here it is. When a person marries someone because of beauty or handsomeness, it is like buying a house because of the paint. How about that? It's just an outer appearance. You don't know what they're like on the inside. So if you marry just because somebody looks good, it's just like buying a house because of the paint. And today, I don't know if you paid attention to my page on Facebook, but today I began to post things because I woke up with just something to start looking up. Okay, this is something that's on my heart, and I follow things that the Lord is leading me to do. So I had put up the actual person who began the first gender affirming surgery. Okay, and this is back in the 1920s. Anyway, in that era, because that there's nothing new under the sun. There's nothing new under the sun. But in the era of that time, this is the things that were happening. So then I began to look, okay, so if this was the first person that had a transgender change that happened upon their life, right, by surgery. No, but you have to like what you're looking at as well. That's right. Okay, we're going to talk about that in a minute. So I looked at that. Let me get to this point. There are so many people, especially men, who had surgeries back in the day, and they had surgeries to look like women. Are looks enough? Are looks enough? Okay. All right. So then I began to look up statistics. our current day statistics. How many gender affirming surgeries are there worldwide? And how many, and within the gender affirming surgeries, there are so many things that are wrapped into a gender affirming surgery. That could be various body parts, um, talked about hormones, talked about implants, and so many things, but it was broken down. If you go to my Facebook page, you can go to the link and you can click on it and begin looking things up yourself. So in today's time, you might be looking at something and then, let me go. There are also surgeries on babies, on infants, where the parents decide on what they want to do with that child. If it's a boy and they wanted a girl, they'll do the switch in the child upon birth. Okay, so they do a tuck. They tuck. It's really something. They tuck vagioplasty. Okay, yeah, they do vagioplasty. Yeah, you got to look it up. It's really something. So they tuck the male part inside to make it. You just got to look it up. But they do this upon birth. Okay. And so if the child had this stuff happen to them and they didn't know because this is what their parents done, if they made them a girl and this young lady who grew up as a young lady, that's all she knows because the parents did this, she finds that she cannot have children. Okay. So here she is walking around with life. Our looks enough. Our looks enough. Here she is walking around in life. And again, they're changing bone structures and everything. It's just really something. Walking around in life and she meets somebody. Our looks enough. Everything you see may not be as it is. Everything you see or encounter may not be as it looks. Everything you see or are around may not be what you think it is. There's a young lady, her name is Nicole Collins. You can look her up on Facebook. I bought her book, and it was on Muddy Waters. I See Through Muddy Waters. And here she was, a girl who made herself look like a boy. Okay? And she had a girlfriend, and she's an evangelist now. Thank God for her story. But she and her girlfriend would go to the various clubs, would trap a male, bring him home, and she would come behind them with an aid. I'm just going to say AIDE. She has something that she's put upon her body, and she attacks the man from behind. Listen, our looks enough. It's sad. Our looks enough. You don't know what you're dealing with or what you're looking at in today's day. So our looks enough. Yes, you want to have something that you can look at. Like I said, my Apostle Wayne Wallace, who is now, he's been deceased since 2009. But again, I have talked about him earlier in previous, maybe a year ago, when I first started this series. And he was on a station, and these women were interviewing him about his book. And he was saying, and they were asking them questions. Well, if one of our friends was involved with a person and he looked like a gorilla, why would she want to stay with the gorilla? And what the apostle said was, well, if he looks like a gorilla, well, that's her gorilla. If that's what she likes to look at, that's what she likes to look at. There's nothing you can do with that. You understand? But they were making comments out of what he looked like and what he but if that's what she liked to look at, that's what she liked to look at. Okay. So are looks enough? Some people might think that. It just depends. Are looks enough? You have to think about all of that. Is this something that's why I say think ahead of time. Don't make an agreement with something or someone or a situation until you really know what you want. Okay? Until you know what you want. All right? So, are looks enough? So in this time, used to be where you look for the Adam's apple, you look for the shoulders, how big the shoulders are, because men are very different from women. Men's bodies are very different from women. Okay. If you studied the human body, yeah, that was him, Cynthia. You remember. If you studied the human body, you know that there's differences between the male and the female. And a lot of the models, if you pay close attention, especially with the what was that? Victoria's Secret models, especially with them, because some of them just might be male. And what they do is they contour the clothing to bring emphasis upon the waistline. They just contour the clothing. If they're wearing outfits, they just make like a big hole on the side, on two sides, to make it look like their waists are going inward. And remember, they had to be very slender. Okay. So there is a way to have the clothes fit where when you know a male's body versus a female's body, where you can barely tell. Sometimes in this area, there's a bridge here that's wider, because remember, the male chest is wider than women's. Okay. So when they put on when they have things added to them, it's always like it's wide. It's wide, a real big gap from here, from this breast to that breast. It's a real big gap. And if you don't pay attention to those things, you will not know. They'll also have the Adam's apple shaved, but you do know it grows back. Okay. They'll also deal with the structures at the forehead. Okay, because men's foreheads are made different, shaped different from female. And what they'll do is they'll have hairstyles where you don't see all the forehead, so they'll kind of like flip it over. And if you start to look up their birth records, Ancestry.com and family history, family search, they have things where you can actually see when they were born, male or female, and so forth. You'll be able to go back in records and see from their parents, who their parents were, if they give you the right information, you'll be able to find them. But again, if the child was changed as an infant, they didn't know. So that birth record wasn't done until they left that hospital. And so if they done the changes right on that same day, that person's birth certificate is going to just look like this, but there's going to be a medical file that'll show that this person was they were changed. They were altered. Or looks enough. You have to know what you know. There's also hermaphrodites. Okay. And even in those particular surgeries, it was the parent to decide which one they wanted to keep. You see? So there are a lot of things that people don't quite understand. And they think that love is enough, or the emotions or the looks are enough. Is looks enough? Now, you might know what you like, and usually when you first start to admire someone, you don't realize you are basing your admirations upon something that looks or someone that looks like your family. They favor your family member. They may have eyes similar to your dad or your brother, or it's just something about them that brings you close to them. And with that being said, not only do looks attract from your family, but also your DNA assignments may also attract, meaning your background may match their background, and you don't know why the magnetization is happening. But there is things that are familiar that are bringing you together. Are looks enough? Are looks really enough? Okay. So you're going to have somebody that looks very well, or very handsome, or very beautiful, or very well. Kim Kardashian was made to look very beautiful. And then based upon her history and based upon what's happening now, are looks enough? Are looks enough? So when a person marries someone because of beauty or handsomeness, it's like buying a house because of the paint. Sometimes you wonder why a very beautiful lady has a very bad temper. Many have been lured into marriage by the beauty of the lady or the handsomeness of the man. Okay, what are you saying, Yellow Bean? There is a saying that women marry their father and men marry their mother. Yeah, that is true. Um, that is true. Whether it was good or bad. A lot of times, if it was a bad experience, because that was familiar to her, right? So, and that's what's familiar to him. So he's choosing someone that's like his mom because that's the only woman that he's had over him, the man, all his life. So he's choosing someone that is like his mother. And for the lady, she's choosing someone, she's agreeing with someone because he that finds a wife finds a good thing, but it's still up to that person to agree to be with that one. So in that aspect, she's choosing as well. And many of the times they do choose somebody that is likened to their father or the person who raised them. The familiar qualities. And that's why I said even too, the similar qualities. That's why I say too, if you don't take the time away when you first leave your home to do work on yourself, because again, every home is not perfect. Everybody has gone through something, right? Everyone has gone through something. There's no perfect homes, but out of you came the beautiful you. Until you learn differently. Until you learn differently. There you go. This is what I'm saying right here. Thanks, Dr. Allison. So if you don't, because listen, when we grow up in our household with our fathers, a lot of times, again, they're different. Fathers are very different from mothers in your household. And a lot of times you knew not to talk back. You knew you better not talk back to your father. So a lot of times you may have had questions, and depending on their personality type, would be how you would receive your answer. So if you couldn't talk to your father, and every time you would speak to him about something serious, and if they didn't answer you or just closed their eyes or pretended you weren't there, well, he's just taught you how to live with non-communication, no verbal skills whatsoever, and or just shut you out, right? So when you meet a person, and at first you're listening to them talk, because again, if your nature was very submissive with your father, and you got quiet when he said shut up or he closed you out, you were just quiet, or you just knew not to say certain things, you just stay quiet and you just listen, you became just a listener. Okay. If you were that way, and then you meet someone and they're similar to your father, you know and not even realizing the similarities there, you don't always see that right away. You don't see that. Usually it's when you are married. This is after you're married, You don't see it in the very early stages. You don't. It's usually after you are married, and after you're married, and you'll see problems. What you do know is that you want a person who's going to take care of the household and be orderly and um, have leadership qualities, right? Leadership qualities. And they're going to protect you. They're going to protect you. Okay. So, say if your father was a protector and he has very strong leadership qualities, that's what you liked when you first saw them, when you first met them. They protected you. The rain was coming and they took their coat and covered you. You didn't know that it was going to rain. They took their jacket and covered you with that. And you were like, oh my God, he's protected me. Some kind of little things we do. There are good things and there are bad things that you will love and hate about your dad. And like I said, you don't realize it until you are actually in it after in the marriage, like a few years into the marriage. You'll see the good and you'll see the bad. Okay. If you did not deal with the bad things that you had to take on as a young child, because usually it happens like ages of 10 and under, you will have experienced some things that were very defining, very defining moments. You would have experienced it at that time, and these things shape you. So, good or bad, you would have had some type of experience that's going to mold you and shape you. And when you're married, say about the third year within the marriage, 2 year, 2.5 years, 3 years within the marriage, you'll start seeing these things, the good and bad about it. And how you handled the bad with your dad is going to be how you handle the bad with your spouse. But as an adult now, you might fight your spouse because the bad that you handled as a child, you didn't have a voice. You couldn't say anything. So now as an adult in this 2 to 3 year marriage, you're fighting with him because you're saying, I'm not going to repeat that. My dad treated me this way, and I'm not going to let you treat me like this. You understand? So then you're brawling. Does that make sense? So you already know what this looks like. And you've seen now you're remembering what your mom went through. And you're already on the edge. And I'm not going to let this happen. So despite all the good that they may do, despite them, making sure you all eat well and making sure you have the best of things, making sure you have roof over your head, making sure these things, that moment takes away everything good that they've done, because you're now fighting the father that you were voiceless with, because you were trained to be voiceless. And now you feel you're old enough where you can defend yourself. Or looks enough. So before you get married, this is what I'm saying. Before you get married, what is the role of a relationship? What is the role of the male? What is the role of the female? And has the person been home trained to walk in these roles? I find it very interesting that a lot of parents who have raised their sons and say their sons are foolish, they can't wait for their sons to get a wife so they can shoo them on. It's a problem because they're a problem. Shoo them on to the person. Get on out of here so you can get your wife. Now she can handle that. A lot of times, these are things that has happened. The mom is irritated by the son, and she can't wait for somebody else to take that spot because of the irritation. So here it is again, constant battling, constant reminders of things that you may have experienced as a young girl, as a child, as a teenager, as an adult. All right. It just depends on how your relationship dynamics are with your parents, even as an adult. Okay. If you have parents that like to butt into your relationship, and you have a father that just comes over and takes over your house, or a mom that just comes over and take over your house, that's a problem. Because they didn't um cut the umbilical cord. The mother did it. So they don't have a right to come and rule your house. If you have a marriage where the siblings and the aunties and cousins think they can just come in and rule your house, well, that's a problem. Because that means that the spouse who's allowing that is still childlike. He didn't grow up yet. So you got the sisters, got the aunties, got the uncles, got the cousins and brothers coming and taking over your house. And this is your family right here. This is one you said I do too. And these are your children and they're coming in trying to run your house. That's showing you a sign of immaturity. They haven't grown up. Our looks enough. Our looks enough. Again, for those who are contemplating marriage, never been married, these things you really have to consider. Our looks enough. So we've gone through the changes, the changes in gender, unknown changes in gender, maturation, roles. We can look at this. Our looks enough. You can look at somebody one way and you say, "Oh, I would never want to be around somebody like that. I would never marry somebody like this and never marry anybody that look like that." And it's really interesting how what somebody says is, I want to say it's not something that they would like to be with, or they're not handsome to them. Well, somebody thinks they're handsome or somebody thinks they're beautiful, even when you think that they're not. That's not yours. Okay. But it's really interesting how you can see somebody say if they were ugly, ugly, like in high school, junior high school, ugly. Everybody teased them all the time. And then you see them now, they don't look as ugly anymore. You see their character, you see their stamina, you see how they're handling their family, and they don't have that look to you anymore. It's funny how we change. Blessings, blessings. Is that cousin Miko? Let's see. Yep, cousin Miko. It's something how those things can change. Okay. Where you thought somebody would look one way and they look completely something else. What we saying? It says, my family have control issues that I identify with and rebel against because I know it's not right, it's not pretty, and that's definitely something that I don't want to carry into a marriage. Absolutely. Hey, cousin Miko. Yeah, we have to do something with that, right? Because if our family dynamics, if we grew up with that and that becomes the norm, where they think they can come in and control your house, and no, there's something that had to be broken. That hold has to be broken. Our looks enough. Our looks really enough. So no matter how handsome the person looks, no matter how, if they can't stand up, in your case, if they cannot stand up for their own household, their own family, and not allow everybody to come in and take over their household, their family, try to control grown people and their children and children's children, that's a problem. And if that person that you married is not strong enough to deflect that, they have to be willing. They have to be willing to go into prayer, go into some therapy, go into whatever they need to break that hold off of their life and off of their family. Now, some of the parents say they had wealth, they had not, they have a house or they have something that, and they know that they're in their elderly times, and they say, well, when we pass on, we have this for you and the children. Okay, these are going to be your things that we leave for you. This is going to be the wealth that we leave for you. But if you keep treating us like this and we don't get to control you, we don't get to just come in and just do what we want to do with you, then we get to take all that from you. See, you really have to have some decision making ideas, because if they're already threatening you in that way, if they're already threatening you, telling you that they will withhold that from you, personality, I like your answer. Personality is everything. In some cases, that old saying, beauty is only skin deep. There you go. So they withhold these things from you because you seem to have a problem with the way our family has always been structured. And so if you can't agree with this, we'll take you out of the will. Those kind of things are controlling. And that's going to make you feel a certain kind of way. But at the same time, you already know that this is your present family. This is your wife. This is your husband. These are your children. And you're not going to let that be dangled over your head. You're just going to keep moving and doing whatever God has you do. The blessings of the Lord make it rich and addeth no sorrow with it. Sorrow looks enough. You want somebody strong. You want somebody that can be strong yet humble. Meaning strong in the fight and humble when it comes to giving and sharing and caring. Humility, but strong to be able to stand against all odds. Or looks enough. There was a lady that had dated someone, and the little girl thought that she was the most beautiful lady ever. She thought that she was so beautiful. Well, come to find out that most people thought that she was really ugly. The sisters thought that she was ugly. They really thought she was ugly. But the little girl said no, she was the most beautiful person that they have ever seen before. And they said, how could you think that? Because she was so ugly. But the little girl saw her interview. She didn't look at that. She knew she was the most beautiful person ever. But the ones in the family, they would say, I don't know how he ended up being around her because she looked like a horse. I mean, they were saying all kinds of things, right? But the little girl never saw that. And that lady was so beautiful. The uncle and that lady, they parted from one another. But looking at this lady, and they said she looked like a horse, but the little girl just saw she was the most beautiful person ever. When the little girl grew up, she contacted the lady because to her it was like her godmother. She was the most beautiful lady in the world. This lady was working for a bail bonds company. And she done such a great job in the bail bonds company. It was owned by a Caucasian man. He loved the way she carried herself. Do you know that he gave this same person his business? He showed her how to run it. And when he passed away, before he passed away, he gave it to her. She had her own bail bonds company already set up already. And the little girl who contacted her was still so proud of her and still thought that she was the most beautiful woman in the world. That little girl saw the beauty in the inside. She wasn't, children don't look at all the outside. They just know that she's the most beautiful, kindest person in the world. Well, that man seen something else too. Now that uncle, he went on with his life, and I don't think he ever married anyone, but this woman was very much in love with him. But they said she looked like a horse. But that little girl says she's the most beautiful lady in the world. And when that little girl got older and she looked at the picture, she said, that was her? And she said, wow, okay. But in her heart of hearts, she still remembers she was the most beautiful lady in the world, the most beautiful woman in the world. But that was not the way they saw it. That was not the way they looked at it. That was not the way they felt it. Yeah, she had a very nice personality. It like I said, enough so where even the Caucasian man, he gave her the business. She had a lot of wealth just working. She was never dating the man or anything. But there was something about her. And she was able to, she's wealthy now. I believe she's a millionaire now. Or looks enough. So that uncle, for whatever reason, he was attracted to her in the first place. Could it be a possibility that because of the siblings were talking to him about what she looked like, that he kind of swayed back? I don't know. But this woman loved him with all her heart. And it broke her heart when he walked away. But look at what she became. You see? Our looks enough. Because again, sometimes a person may look ugly at the moment. But then later on, they have a different look. Is it because they changed or because you changed? Same face. Why do they look nice today? Okay. When you know what you like or you don't know what you like or something you could tolerate, our looks enough. Think about it. So back to the book. It says, many have been lured into marriage by the beauty of the lady or the handsomeness of the man. Faces do not depict character. Character means a lot. Character. You can have a lot of good looking hustlers. You have a lot of good looking businessmen. You can have a lot, give or take on both ends. Yes, when you put it that way, okay. Put it that way, right? Character. So, I mean, okay, so think about it. What is your 10? So, if you were to rate somebody's looks from 0 to 10, 10 being the best, 0 being the worst, and if you were to like have a log and you were interested in something and somebody, okay, so here's another thing you can write down now. Are they a 5 and above or are they 5 and below? Have your rating scale. Okay. Are they a 5 and above or a 5 and below? Because looks can vary from time to time. Okay. What is your rating? You like them because they were a 8? Or you liked it? So that's another rating, you all, singles. Make your list 0 to 10. This is your range. And when you first see somebody you're interested in, do they fall 5 and below or 5 and above to 10? Mark that. And then have a character log. So you have one category for looks, despite all the other stuff we've been talking about, right? Despite all the other stuff, besides all of that, I will go with how they treat me. Do they have a good heart? Okay. So we can have that character trait, that character. So you have one looks 0 to 10, and then you have a next one, because this is how you're going to analyze things, right? Character. Nice. Open up doors. Hey, sis, open up doors. You know, potential. And again, you don't marry because of potential, because you're not marrying a project. I told my daughter before, people are who they are at the age of 10. Men are who they are by the age of 10. Men are who I'm going to say it again. Men are who they are by the age of 10 years old. Women are formed. Women are changed. Women. Yeah. You know why? Because we have a submissive nature. When you have a submissive nature and you're not a Jezebel, okay? When you have a submissive nature and you are allowing your husband to lead because that's the role, you will be formed and pliable for that husband. And he's going to train you how he wants you to be in the marriage. Okay? So remember, we're the female is the help meet. The help that's suitable for that particular person. Men are who they are by the age of 10 years old. I'm going to say it again. Whoever they are at 10, they are formed. Their personalities are formed. They are who they are at 10, even though life changes can happen. But their attitudes, their stubbornness, the things they laugh at, the things they have fun with, that's who they are at 10 years old. Hear me. Women will change because your husband is going to mold you into the wife that he needs you to be. We are their helpmeet. Okay? So, along with that list, 0 to 10 characteristics, okay, whatever job they have as an employment, whatever it is they do, if it's a business, a home business, if something were to happen to them, are you able to carry that business out? Are you interested in that business? Do you like what they do for a living? Understand. You are their helpmeet, the help that is suitable for that particular man. The man is not the helpmeet. The woman is the helpmeet. Are looks enough? So, if you had your 0 to 10 chart, I mean, fine is like 10, just okay. Then you got a 5, you got a 0, and you say, oh, there are 2. But if there are 2 and their character is poor, okay, then you're already going to cross that. That's a no. No. He talks about his mom. He talks hatred towards his mom. He treats women bad. No, that's a whole scratch that one off. He's not going to change. However he felt at 10 years old, 10, you're formed, made whole, numbers complete, 10. That's who they are. Now, whatever male leaderships will come into their life, it's going to strengthen what's there. But if they were stubborn and rebellious at 10 and no whoopings could help them, no correction could help them, they're going to be 50 and 60 years old and they're going to still be somebody that needs a whooping. They're still going to be stubborn. They're still going to be hard-headed. They're still going to be that. And no matter what happens in life, nothing makes them move. Nothing makes them shift to change for the better, because they still have that stubborn, rebellious nature that they had at 10 years old and they're now 50 and 60. No male role is going to come into their life and change it. They're going to strengthen other things, because a person who is stubborn and rebellious as a child, they're going to just look for things in another person that they can help with their stubbornness and their rebellion. They're just going to find slick ways to be slick. Okay? Because remember, rebellion is as a sin of witchcraft. So then you're dealing with a witch. Okay, let me go. Anyway, so at 10, the age of 10, they are who they are. Whoever will come in life, mentors, whatever male persons will come in there, will help them. And God is your key. If God gives you a new heart, see, that's one thing about salvation. He gives you a new heart. He gives you a new heart. He writes the laws upon your heart and your mind. Your heart. Okay? You're going to get the word of God inside of you. So you're going to have the standards. You're going to have the Torah. That's going to be on your heart. That's going to be in you. And whatever life situations happen, you're going to go back to the word of God. And the word of God is what's going to change you. But if they never get into the word, they could still be the same person. Again, at the age of 10, that's going to be you. Okay. Our looks enough. Okay. So faces do not depict character. There is no way to detect what is hidden in the heart by looking at the face. An inviting smile, an attractive facial appearance, a courteous look, or a cool countenance cannot recommend a lady or a man as a perfect mate. There are lots of beauty queens who are hiding monumental moral ineptitude. There are many good-looking guys who harbor serpents in their hearts. Such people may purchase costly items in the area of marriage with the color of their skin. The color of your skin cannot determine the state of your heart. Listen to that. See, just because you have a particular skin color, it does not determine what's in your heart, the state of your heart. The fact that someone is ebony black or that another person spots a flashing light color does not mean that such a person will be the best partner for you. Never marry because of beauty. And it says, Proverbs 31:30. Favor is deceitful, and beauty is vain. But a woman that feareth the Lord, she shall be praised. A lady who does not appear very beautiful could possess wonderful qualities of character. Just like I was talking about that lady, and the little girl kept saying she's the most beautiful woman in the world. Her character was so great. She was so kind, and she was consistent. She was beautiful, even though other people did not think that. A man who may not emerge as the most handsome in the community may possess a glorious character. Don't be deceived by physical appearance. You know, back in my time, they had, Billy Williams. Billy Williams? It doesn't even sound right. Billy D. Williams, that's the word. Billy D. Williams. Billy D. Anybody heard of Billy D. Williams? God bless you, Sister Lorraine. Ooh, Billy D. Williams. Okay. So Billy D. Williams was one that was on camera. He was smooth. He was slick. He had a lot of finesse. He was handsome. He was like a dream for many people. But remember, he's on television. Billy D. Williams. And I'm going to throw this out there. My dad looked like Billy D. Williams. Many people would look at my dad and he just had a look like he was Billy D. Williams. He was very handsome. He had a lot of charm. I mean, just like a Billy D. He looked like Billy D. Williams. I kid you not. My dad. Okay. Well, Billy D. And all this good looking hunk of a man. Right? And all of this hunk of a man. Everybody liked him since the 1970s. Everybody loved to see Billy D. Williams. Everybody, they were fans of Billy D. Williams. All of that. Well, I just remember not too long ago that he began to make himself a little different. But again, Billy D. Williams, an iconic actor, an iconic person, been around for years. Like I said, this is someone that people used to think my dad looked like, and he actually did look like he could be his brother. But anyway, this is really interesting because even in this time, there was a change about his own idea about himself. Now, again, we talked a little earlier about gender affirming surgeries. And yes, he was a debonair. Yes, he was debonair. Yes, he was. So, not a charm. But if he feared the Lord, it'd have been great. But he had a change in who we thought was a man's man. And within recent times, he had a different statement of being fluid. Don't be deceived by physical appearance. Beauty is only skin deep, as Carolyn said. You said that earlier, Carolyn. Beauty is only skin deep. Beyond the veneer of the skin, there are hidden character traits. Don't marry for beauty. Don't marry a man because he is tall. Don't marry a lady because she is slim. What you need is the hidden quality of character that lurks in the heart. Only God can help you discern that. It's a hidden character inside. Now, I already said, because remember, those who are waiting on mates, you're waiting to be married. Not surprised. What'd you say, Tiana? Let me read. Not surprised, but that's right. Well, you have to really think about all that. You do. What is important to you? What's important? What's important to you? And again, we had, like I said, you get your 10, 0 to 10. Each person that come into your life. Where do they fit here? Someone that you may be interested in. What is their character like? What are the things that you said you would prefer? Okay. Some people had already on there, okay, if they took that shot, I am going to absolutely say no. And if they kept getting the boosters, I'm really like, get away from me. You understand? So it's a lot of things that you have to consider. So is looks everything. Beauty is only skin deep. Anything can change. So the fine face marriage, anything can change. Anything. So this is something to think about. This is something to consider before you get married. Sometimes people who have a fine face have a poor character and they're not committed to you. Sometimes people have a fine face, poor character, and they're insecure, okay? Low self-esteem, very insecure, and anybody can just talk to them in their ear and they're wooed away already. They're already wooed away. A lot of people look very well, but they're very insecure. Very insecure. So character is everything. How quick, okay, if they're angry, what do they do when they're angry? How do you know they're angry? Because the Bible tells you don't be around an angry person. So that ought to be one of the check marks. If they're angry, if they're a brawler, if they're a drinker, they are drunkard. If they're a fool, bless you. If they're a fool, if they're a fool, say that again. If they're a fool, will you ever learn? They don't have understanding. If you already see that they don't match your education level, I should say, not to say that they have to be in college or anything of that nature, but if they haven't matured, if they still act like a fourth grader, and I'm talking about actions, okay? They can't lose anything, meaning you can play a game and say if you're playing solitaire or you're playing dominoes, and what if they lose in dominoes? Do they throw everything off the table because they lost in dominoes? How mad do they get? Right? That's why it's good to play games. How do they act when they lose? When you go to the pool table, if they lose, how do they act? If you lose, how do you act? If you both like sports and you love to play basketball and you're shooting hoops, well, you made the 3-pointer and they didn't. You shot 1-on-1 and you won. You won them. How do they act when they lose? Are they angry? The Bible tells you not to be around somebody that's angry. He also tells you not to be around somebody that's boastful, proud, unthankful. Right? You got to look at these things because character does matter. Are they ungrateful? Are they unthankful? Are they irresponsible? Do they pay their bills? Are they who they say they are? See? Do they do what they say they're going to? Do they keep their word? Do they? There's things you have to remember because you're the helpmate to them. So if they're irresponsible, do you see what's going to happen to you if they're irresponsible? That means you always have to be behind them, checking on them to make sure they done this. Then you become like their mother. You don't want to marry somebody that you have to be a mama to. No, you don't. No, you don't. Not in the role of a female or a wife. You do not want to have somebody that you have to be mama to. You're going to be frustrated. No, you don't. Some people like to tell people what to do, but you're going to be frustrated. You know why? Because it's outside of your role. It's out of your role. That's not the role for the marriage. Okay? I win every time. Is that why I'm single? Not about the winning. It was it's how they responded to the win. Now, did they respond to the win well? Did they give you high five? Did they give you a high five because you won? So if you win every time and they were excited about your win, okay, they were okay with that. That doesn't mean how did they respond? You can't help if you're a winner. Okay. But how did they respond to you being a winner? That's my point. So can you answer that one? Did they get mad and storm off the court? You see? How mad? What is their passion like with food? I'm gonna say listen. Well, they say a way to a man's heart is to the belly, right? You sure do not. Bless you, Dion. Yeah. So how do they respond to food? And I'm talking about going out because remember, if you're dating somebody, you don't give them wife benefits. You do not give them wife benefits. They don't get home cooked meals. They don't get to come to your house like that. You don't know. You don't. They do not expect you to cook for them. They have to wine and dine you. You do not go to their house. No, they don't come to your house. You stay outside the houses. Okay? You do not give someone you're dating wife or husband privilege. One was cool with it, but he's not the one. Okay. Okay. One was cool. One was cool with it. Anyway, so you don't give them wife privileges. You do not. You don't go wash their clothes. You don't go iron their clothes. You don't. That's a wife. You don't be in their house. That's a wife's role. You don't give them wife privileges. You have to give them a desire to want you. Okay. All right. So how are they with food? When you all go out to eat, how are they with food? How do they act with the waiters? Learn all that. That was a hard way a long time ago. Yeah. How are they with the waiters? Do they leave tips? Or do they think that they don't deserve a tip? All right. How is she? If you're a he and you're watching this, you know what? And let me tell you all this. I see a lot of women in here, but do you know that majority of my listeners are men? I don't even know who they are. But if I go to review, if I go to review my dashboard on Facebook, I have a lot more men listening. So for the men that are listening and you don't want to reveal yourself, I want you to think about this. How does she act at the dinner table? When you allow her to order her own food, what does she order? Does she go to the top of the meal? Does she choose the most expensive one? Or does she kind of like wait for you to order and say, oh, okay, I get, because that way she can see how you're ordering. And so she'll try to like match what you have or go a little under. Or she said, oh no, I'll let you decide because she wants to see how you would order for her. So men, if you were to take her out to eat, because again, food is revealing. Food is very revealing. That dinner table is it's going to tell you a lot just sitting down eating with them. It's going to tell you a lot. You can watch how they eat. If they eat like this and there's no stop in between, there's already a problem. It's like they're not even swallowing. That already shows you they're highly emotional. Let me give you some secrets here. They're highly emotional. They don't take their time to think. And they're irrational. I'm going to say it again. If they eat like they're swallowing the food, they don't eat in between. They don't wait. Hi, Prophet Dre. They don't listen. They're high. They have high emotions. They are irrational. Okay. And They're not steady. They're not stable. Okay? But it looks like they got a lot going on. But they're at the dinner table. Listen, eating with somebody at the dinner table tells you a lot. You can look around and see how they treat people, or if they know someone in the restaurant where you are, and how do they treat them. If an old girlfriend comes by, are you introduced? You have to think about a lot of things. What are you saying here on Instagram? The last person I was in a relationship with was like that. I called him the peekaboo brother. Okay. You have to think about all these things, okay? These are 40 marriages that must not hold. Are looks enough? Are looks enough? When you go into the restaurant, who opens the door? Do they open the door? Or do you just open the door to the restaurant? If you're the one opening the door as the female, you need to learn to just stand at the door and don't move until they open it themselves. They'll figure it out. Because the minute you stand back, they already know they need to open the door. And when they pick you up in their car, don't get out until they open your door. We're talking about character here. Okay? So even if they do all of that, and their character is bad, Here's another question. When they're emotionally distraught, because men get emotionally distraught too sometimes. They just don't always tell you. That's why they have their friends. Okay? When they feel that way, what do they do to bring themselves back into order? What do they do? Think about it. How do they get themselves back into stability when they are emotionally distraught? Do they talk to you about their feelings? Do they really talk to you about their feelings? Or do you have to say, what's wrong with you? Oh, nothing. Well, can you just give me a little bit? Can you just tell me? I can tell something is wrong. Nothing's wrong with me. And they're real sharp. Well, what's happening? Well, I think something's wrong with you. I told you nothing's wrong with you. Okay. Then you kind of back off. So you can tell that something is wrong, but they're not willing to talk to you about what's wrong. And even if you sit down and don't say a word, they never tell you, but they're on the phone telling their sister, they're on the phone telling their brother, but they don't say anything to you. They're not communicating with you well. And listen, you're not even the person that they want to give the secrets to. Let me tell you something. Number one, I've been married for 30 years. Okay. 33 years. Excuse me. 33. We're on our 33rd year. They have to be very comfortable with you. Well, they can say anything to you. Anything. The secret about Delilah, she made them very comfortable. Listen, she was the enemy though. But the good that was drawing him to her was he can just be comfortable and lay on her lap. He was able to rest. He slept so hard, he didn't even feel them on his head. See? So, okay, he said men typically isolate. Typically. So men typically, why? Why do they isolate? Why do men typically isolate? So, okay, what are we saying? Sometimes past relationship has scored them, and they're not sure if there will be backlash if he shows vulnerability. Okay. That's fair. Okay, so if somebody is in that state, then that place of isolation, okay, because I'm going to tell you, okay, if we're dealing with isolation and it's a man isolating, all right, think about a prison. When do men or when do prisoners go into isolation? They got out of control. There was a fight. There was something that happens, and security sends them into or detention or jail. The jail security detention officers put them in the hole. Okay, so if he goes in the hole, it's because something happened on the outside that brought a danger to the rest of the community in the jail. The man goes into the hole, and it's proven when they go into the hole like that, not seeing the daylight, being in a very closed place in the dark, not being able to go outside and get to the sun, it shows that they end up with psychological problems. Many of them go in and go in okay, and they come out with bipolar, schizophrenia, they come out with issues. So we talk about isolation. That woman, if that's an issue, then that woman has to work twice as hard in prayer, in comfort, in and just letting them know that he's safe, right? That's a whole lot to tear. That's walls that got to be torn down. And the minute that they're able to express themselves to that one that's allowing them to, this is why people go to prostitutes. This is how you have folks having inordinate affections with other people because they're more comfortable talking to them than to talk to the one that they live with. And that should not be. So listen, when the minute they begin to express themselves, that woman has to learn to just be quiet and let them talk. Because men are not like women, and women are not like men. What do I mean by that? Men don't want to hear suggestions. Women talk so they can get some feedback majority of the time. Men talk so they can be heard. Okay. So let's see. Sometimes, okay. So men talk because they just want to be heard. And they just had to get it off their chest. They just wanted to say something without judgment, without criticism. They just want to say something. So are looks good enough? Because this is a 40 marriages that must not hold. And this one is called the fine face marriage, and beauty is only skin deep. So those of you who are dating or courting or getting to know a person, it's going to take a lot for that person who's had some past relationships. And many times they don't like to talk about it. They don't talk about what broke them. It's going to take a lot to build up trust. Are you going to be patient enough to help build up the trust? You said it, the environment must feel safe and the trust has to be built up. Okay. Thank you, Prophet Dre. So that's a work. Remember, the woman is the help meet. You are the help. You are the one that's suitable for that one person. You are the help meet, the one, the Isha that is able to help them with all these things and pull it out of them. And they can feel safe. They can feel comfortable. They have no need to spoil, because in Proverbs 31, not only are you a woman that have business, value, beauty, you can war in the spirit. You make him look good to the outside. You make him, people look in your neighborhood and you speak well of him on the outside. So people outside of your home know that you speak well of him. And when people see him at the gate, they see him right at the entry place because he's a leader and everybody comes to him for help, consultation. They're calling on him because the way you speak about him, right? As a woman. That builds up his prestige. That builds up his character. That makes a whole community think well of him by the way you speak of him and by the way you treat him, by the way you serve him, by the way you live and take care of business. And that person, once they feel safe and secure, they'll give you the world. Meaning their world, what's in them, they'll give it to you. They'll let you help. They'll let you. And the response to respect, the response to the respect that she reverenced him, the response to that, there's no words to put that. Only love is all I can say. The response will be only love. Takes a while to do that. So our looks enough. The fine face marriage, again, it says a lady who does not appear very beautiful could possess wonderful qualities of character. A man who may not emerge as the most handsome in the community may possess a glorious character. Don't be deceived by physical appearance. Beauty is only skin deep. Beyond the veneer of the skin, there are hidden character traits. Don't marry for beauty. Don't marry a man because he is tall. Don't marry a lady because she is slim. What you need is the hidden quality of character that lurks in the heart. Only God can help you discern that. And with that, we're going to close tonight. So thank you for joining me. This is Thursday Night Live at 9. I am Apostle Hellena Horsley. I enjoyed this one tonight. And I tell you what, next week we are in for a treat because we're going to talk about the prescription marriage. Prescription with words like she will be good for you may not be approved by God. So that's going to be interesting. All right. So anyway, thank you for joining me. I'll see you next